Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Let's just go with it.
Yeah.
This is Vandal the Love Handle Drummond.
Take number 3.
Yes, take number 3, and this is Fredo Esparza.
Not Esparta.
On LuchaWorld, not Esparta. And this is episode number 45 of LuchaWorld.
Right, you got it right.
Not to be confused with Lucha Underground.
Or issue.
No, this is an issue. This is an audio magazine.
What is an issue? We had internet issues. Web service issues.
This is true. We did, there have been LuchaWorld web issues. So, we are an audio magazine with a lot of typos. That's all it is. Well, a
lot happened while the website was down, actually, which was great.
Yes. Oh,
which was actually not great. Kind of sucked until like the Sunday of Triplemania, where I realized I was kind of glad it was down because I didn't have to write about Triplemania.
Yes, and it was not this last week, but the week before.
The week before, right? Yeah.
And
yeah. What did we miss? We missed Ultima Lucha. I couldn't cover that, which I'm not really that worried about because Lucha Underground I stopped recapping because recapping is too much. But I mean, we could have done a podcast or something.
Bullet points,
we would have done something like that.
And
I think we might have.
Time to finally watch it.
And we would have maybe even done one. And then Triplemania on Sunday. Mm-hmm. And there was a lot of like news about CMLL running their shows online and all that.
Yes.
So there was a lot of news.
There's a lot of news. Well, and for people who
I think Roddy Piper died during that time too. So although that's not really something I think you would have written something, but I probably would have.
Yes. Now, for people who check out the LuchaWorld website frequently, what was the issue?
The issue was their server, the server that holds the entire website, crashed. That was
Lord.
And they had to resync it, and then they rebooted it. And then when they rebooted it, it was working fine. Then I think some people might have noticed that on Thursday after 9 days of being down. Mm-hmm. It kept crashing, but what happened was that it was still having loading issues. So they had to restart the count again, and that fixed it. And we haven't had problems since then, and it's actually a lot faster, too.
I was going to say,
and they told me to optimize the website, which I assume means I got to get rid of all those posters and all those pictures.
Bummer.
Well, I'm putting them on a Flickr account, so I'm cool with that.
That works.
Yeah.
That works. Well, like we said, not only has there been a lot of news in the last few weeks, but a lot of news just in the last 4 or 5 days.
Oh, yeah.
And,
well, right after Triplemania, I was telling you, I didn't get a chance to write about it. Or talk about... Actually, I did talk about it. That night afterwards, I did a podcast with Chris Zellner and a couple of the other guys, David Bixenspan. And, so it was a good place for me to, like, give my opinion.
Yes.
But, it's not the same when you don't have your website and it's all gone. But then, like, right after that, more news started coming out, and I was like, "Oh wow, a lot of other interesting stuff." Well, but by that point, I was bored with
shall we
waiting.
Start off with
Triplemania?
Yeah.
We both watched it on pay-per-view, so
yes, we did. It's the first time I bought a pay-per-view in over 2 years.
And you actually didn't watch it all that one day, right? You watched it over time.
No, I watched the whole thing. I just watched it a few hours later.
Oh, okay.
Otherwise I would have joined in the tweeting fun, which I've never done before.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yes.
You just hear us complaining about shows, or telling the promotions to turn up the volume, turn up the audio. Well, Triplemania, that was the biggest issue. Really, the biggest issue.
It's so funny. You know me. I don't go in with high expectations.
Well, it's Lucha. So, I think a lot of people who are, if you're a Lucha fan and you watched video or watched Lucha shows over the years, there's always something that screws up. Either it's audio, the video. They'll have a 1 hour show and they'll show you one fall of a match. Then all of a sudden they'll somehow skip that fall. Remember the TJ shows used to have that? They'd air some other match, and then all of a sudden they show the second and third fall the next day or the next show or whatever. So you kind of expect something to be screwed up with the show.
I was expecting, and at first, the audio malfunctions did not bother me because I thought, this is par for the course. But when it went on for the entire show,
and it didn't help when they actually had time to talk, like when Hugo Savinovich and Matt Striker. Well, first of all, we lost Hugo Savinovich for most of the show.
And when we had him,
he was so bad.
He was terrible. It was the audio equivalent of a deer in the headlock. He sounded like he was so confused, so wooden, very unlike Hugo.
Well, Matt Striker, what's weird is like the last couple of weeks on Lucha Underground. I'm sure you've caught up, or you've seen like more or less. You've seen more or less bits of each show. He's actually gotten a lot better. Like at least the enthusiasm's there.
I agree.
He's not calling all the but he was cutting back on all that stuff about like, oh, just like shades of like some dude from the indies, like from years ago or something that nobody really knows except unless you're inside, or you really are a hardcore wrestling fan. And he was back to doing that, and then he was back to doing like really dumb shit throughout the show, like calling can't call certain moves.
Dumbass one-liners that only Jerry Lawler can get.
Yeah. So it's like God, this guy is so bad, and he was really bad in the show. And then when Matt Striker will, I guess he took some time where he would switch it over to Hugo Savinovich. He got a lot worse. He was actually worse. I actually thought he was worse than Matt Striker.
I agree. And I'm not desperately trying to put Matt Striker over on the pay-per-view, but I felt bad for both of them just having their hands
and I think
full,
and I think that also was a big issue because nobody was there like to fix it and stuff like that. So it's like they fixed the audio issue. So it's like I'm sure that kind of distracted them, and they're like, "What the fuck's going on with this? What are we supposed to do?" And probably kind of screwed them up. But it also looked like they weren't. I don't think they have any, like, they didn't even bother knowing who some of these guys were and what they've done recently. Because some of the stuff, like when he was talking about Blue Demon Jr. and how he was saying how there's not, it's not often you see a guy who's had a 30-year career, successful career like Blue Demon Jr. Yes. And it's like the match earlier had Viano 3. Mm-hmm. Who's had a far greater career than Blue Demon Jr. Like even though like right now Viano 3, the last 5 years he shouldn't be in the ring, you can't even compare Blue Demon Jr.'s career to Viano 3. Viano 3 is a draw in Mexico.
God. And I was just really bummed that this was his swan song. When they did this 6-man tag,
you saw it later. Was it as bad as I thought it was?
Yes. Yes. I mean, what do I say? I didn't expect it to be good, but I don't know if you've ever watched this. I watched this only for the first time maybe about 3 weeks ago. El Santo's retirement match in '82. And it was like an 8-man tag, and it was high in the ceremony. Like, the whole thing went an hour, but about 25 minutes of that was like, people coming in and, commending, Santo for his work, people handing out plaques.
Yeah.
And Santo looked like he should not have even been in the ring, but that didn't matter because they had other people like Perro Aguayo and Solitario to really do some kick-ass action, and then other guys like Gory Guerrero could still do a few simple things.
Yeah.
And, Santo barely did anything, but it didn't matter. This was like a goodbye, a ceremony. I guess I was expecting something not quite that good. But
yeah, but just something you could say it's not the worst match
exactly,
you've ever seen. And it wasn't. And I've seen worse matches.
Yeah, I have.
Because we've gone to indie wrestling shows. We've seen. But it's like on a pay-per-view, on a show that you're showcasing for the first time in like 12 years to be on U.S. pay-per-view.
Yes,
because a lot of people are confused. A lot of people remember the '94. When Worlds Collide, and I guess we could go with that one, 94, because the 2003 one isn't as known, the pay-per-view from that era. It
isn't. People from our generation.
It's more. So we'll go with 94 then. If you guys don't want to remember 2003, you want to skip 2003. But you think about it, and it's like this is going to be the big show for AAA, and they booked that match, and it was horrible.
It was,
and we all knew it was going to be bad going in. It was like because Psycho Circus isn't a very good trio, anyways.
And why? Yeah. Why not have done something a little more over the top, like have it be a 10-man tag and have 2 guys in there who are fresher than the Villanos to be on their team?
Or do what CMLL did when they would celebrate some dude retire doing an anniversary. They would actually bring in like the maestros, like Negro Navarro, Solar.
Yes.
Guys could actually work and carry those guys.
Oh yeah, well, like remember Blue Panther there with Matematico a few months ago live? I mean,
Matematico couldn't do anything.
And do you know how old that guy? Do you know how old Matematico was?
I'm gonna guess 95 years old.
Oh. Fredo never behaves.
He moved like he was 95 years old.
Oh Lord, yeah.
But
remember how we noticed his physique looked really good?
He's 54.
He's 74.
74. Wow.
74, and he looked pretty fit not when wrestling, but just looking at him
As a regular person.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, he looked pretty fit. But I was kind of amazed at how Blue Panther could still move him.
Yeah.
When he probably shouldn't have even been in the ring.
Yeah.
But it can be done. But
yeah, that match was horrible.
Oh Lord, that was horrible.
The first match.
Painfully
the first match was one of those relevos de locura matches, and this one wasn't as good as that wasn't as good as previous when they do that type of match.
I agree, and what's scary, that was one of the better matches on the show.
Yeah, and they were focusing a lot on the people who couldn't do a lot. Like, they should have focused more on the minis and on Daga and I can't remember who the other person was. Drago. Daga and Drago. They should have done more of that, but they were focusing on the Exoticos and the two women. And the two women, one of them was Sexy Star, which, she's not that very good. She's not very good. And Goya Kong is... She looked lost at times in the match.
I was going to say, that's not the same Goya Kong I remember in CMLL.
I don't think she's barely getting used to that ring and all
kind
that stuff.
Adapting.
So I think she's not really that great either. So it's not.
Is it terrible to say I hate this excited ring?
Yeah, but it's probably something you could have said like for the last 15 years. For the last 15.
No, just I hear so many people saying, "Oh, there's no difference. You're making too big a deal." I hate six-sided rings. I just think they're.
I don't mind because in this one you have guys like Dynastia and all those guys doing dives and everything.
Yeah.
But it's like it's useless if they're not really doing dives and they're like trying to find a way to like when they're like being thrown into the ropes because you're just, all of a sudden you're trying to find which rope to throw them at, you know.
Well, especially when
if you're not used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're trained to do.
And I think that's what Goya Kong had. She wasn't really used to it, and she looked kind of worn out towards like.
She did.
Yeah, she looked blown up.
Absolutely.
And there was the cage match, which was awful also.
Wow, and that potentially should have been the best match of the show.
Well, first of all, like I think the day earlier they announced that it was going to be. They actually didn't. They announced like a few days earlier that they were going to have a match. One of the matches was going to be in a cage, but they didn't say which one. Mm-hmm. So then, of course, they put the one match that has all the high flyers and all these good workers inside a cage, and cage matches. And then they added the stip that day. They added the stip of guys having to climb to a scaffold to grab the belts.
Yes.
And it's like
Please.
That was horrible.
Yeah, that was hard.
I thought they could have done if they would have just done a regular trios match, a 3-way trios match. I would have been fine with it because the only guy that's really bad is Cibernetico.
Mm-hmm.
So then, of course, you put in a cage, everybody becomes worse. Like you end up becoming a lot worse in that match. But
the one that actually, aside from the Villanos versus Psycho Circus, the one that annoyed me the most for some reason was Blue Demon and La Parka versus Miss.
That was short though. That was
short.
Actually, that's the one good thing about these matches. They were all kind of short.
That's
the first 4 matches was like it was already done. It's like, oh god, I could forget about this.
Yeah, I mean, the 4 of them aren't these stellar workers, but at the same time, I think they could have put just a little more effort.
But don't you think they could have put all those guys in that one match with the Villanos?
Yes.
Just got like I said, this is the Villano 3 retirement, Tropi Casas retirement, and Blue Demon Jr. 30th anniversary. Yeah. Let's have it all in one match. Let's not have 2 more matches, just one match. Let these guys all fuck around and let them do whatever.
Short spot with a Latigo, drop kick, clothesline, go home.
Yeah.
Thank you.
They could have done something like thrown in like some other match, like Pentagon Jr. versus Phoenix or something, and not worried about this. Had like a 10-man. What would that would have been a 10-man match? Yeah. Get rid of all those guys at once. They also had the Hall of Fame ceremony for Hijo de Perro Guayo and Hector Garza, which was really sad, just because these 2 guys. I mean, what was it? 3 years ago, these guys were still around. Time flies.
These guys were stellar workers.
You just look at what AAA is right now, and you think, man, if Hijo de Perro would be main eventing, and Hector Garza would have been somewhere in one of those matches. Yeah, and would have been a lot better.
It's been a very bizarre year. I mean,
too many deaths.
The Perro Guayo was the biggest shock we've had in a long time.
Yeah. Then there was the Alberto El Patron versus Brian Cage hair
versus
match.
hair.
Yeah, see, that was the one that I think we all thought was going to be Cage, but I think we might have been confused because his last name is Cage. I don't know.
Cage in the cage.
Yeah, Cage in the cage, so everybody was kind of confused. So,
well, hair versus hair was kind of silly. I mean,
think
it's not like Brian Cage.
Well, first of all, the hair. Both of them had really short hair.
Yes.
Really short hair. Like, I think they even went and got haircuts because it looked even shorter. I think Alberto had even shorter hair. I mean, you look at the CMLL guys when they're gonna have hair matches. They got mullets.
Yes.
These guys have mullets.
Yes.
You're going to get a lot of haircut. Like, even Rey Scorpion had all that, even though I think he's kind of losing a little bit of his hair, but he still had enough hair.
Yeah, people don't think ahead. Like,
Yes.
Nick Rokostas grows his hair strictly
like
because he knows he's going to
and you even know, oh, there's going to be a hair match coming because these guys are growing their hair long. Because, but these guys had short hair. Like, Brian Cage got a haircut. It's like, oh, wow. It's probably going to grow back to what it was the next day.
Exactly, yeah.
The match, I actually think, if you watch the Verano de Scandalo match, it was exactly the same thing, Brian.
Really?
Yeah. Because they do good stuff in the ring, but it's like they had this interference. They had the heel ref getting involved, which was exactly the same thing that happened I think they just wanted to do a Alberto against all odds to win the match.
Yeah, it just didn't work, and that's
which is fine if you do it, but you can't have the heel ref in every single show. It's like.
Oh, it's overkill. It's such and it didn't help that you could not hear the audience at all. It might have well been an empty.
That might have been part of the problem with the audio with the English. It must have been hooked to the English announcer. That's the other thing. People didn't I think people who were there didn't understand why we were all complaining about how bad the show was. Because the audio, you couldn't hear the fans.
Yeah,
it just seemed like everybody was dead for the entire show.
And it makes a big difference when you can't hear the audience. It sounds like you're in a dead arena and there's no emotion to it. Okay, that's one thing where I'll say I thought Stryker, and I believe Hugo was on at the time when Cage came out in the Donald Trump T-shirt, and they start pushing nationalism and saying. The fans here see the American flag as racist, if I'm remembering correctly. And I thought, okay, you're trying to sell a pay-per-view to Americans.
I didn't even mention this. The Trump thing. Did you think that made sense for Mexicans? In Mexico. Not Mexicans in the U.S.
I don't know. I do know, well, I'm sure the Univision dumping Trump resonated.
But that's Univision's here in the U.S.
True.
So it's like, somebody was telling me they should have just gone with, he should have worn a shirt with the name of the Mexican president, because everybody in Mexico hates the Mexican president.
Really?
Yes, yes, Peña Nieto. So it's like, so I was like, that would have been perfect, because Trump, I wasn't sure how big. On television, like those of us watching that are in the U.S., we would be like, oh, that's a great idea to wear that shirt. But then you're thinking, those people are in Mexico, they might not even know who Trump. I'm sure they'll know. They've known enough. Yes. Where I'm sure he's been on TV and stuff like that where it's kind of built up.
No doubt this is a big story, but is it to the point where they're that livid? Well, maybe because he's trying to say...
I think they're livid about anything American politics related,
Yeah, but I thought they could have phrased it better. Instead of saying they see this flag as racist, why didn't they, instead of that, just say... Brian Cage is here boasting that America's better than Mexico, and that you put the heat on Cage. You know what I mean? It's almost like they're trying to turn the fans heel for the American audience. Yeah. Which I thought was it. I mean, that's the only thing I just thought was just.
And Cage continued what you had said about him, about Lucha Underground, where you said you weren't really that sure about him as a killer, like a badass.
Yes, I agree. It's one.
He's a great athlete. Great worker. Great talented wrestler. I don't know if he's a great worker, because a great worker would have figured out how to do like certain stuff to get more heat, and I didn't really get a lot of heat in that match.
I didn't get that either. And he should be plowing through people. It's like I said on Lucha Underground. Here's this guy who comes out like a beast, and then he does these graceful, beautiful moves, and it's like, how can you hate that guy? And when he beats the guy, he beats him. Meanwhile, you have other characters killing other characters.
Yeah. There's been murder. We've seen murder.
Yes.
We've seen people murdered on that show. And Cage didn't even murder anyone. He should have murdered at least one person.
Yeah, they should almost do almost like a old school Undertaker or La Momia, where week after week he's just leveling people. And then
he didn't even break anybody. Like they did all these vignettes where guys can't break stuff over him, like chairs and stuff like that. Those boxes that they would throw at him, glass bottles, nothing would take him down. And you never saw him like break somebody like in half, like kill the guy, and the guy's going in a stretch or something. I mean, Pentagon Jr., how many arms did he break? He broke like 4 or 5, and this guy didn't break. Although Pentagon Jr. lost to Sexy Star, so that's a different story. Yeah.
But yeah, that match just didn't do anything.
Rey Mysterio versus Mystices. I thought that was a good match.
I thought it was a good match. I thought it was the best match of the show.
I thought that was the only match that was really worth watching on that show. Like I was like,
and for $30, it didn't piss me off too bad.
I only paid $20. I went with Stan. You know why I went with SD? I'll tell you why. Because I already knew they were going to fuck up. I knew. What's the difference with getting it in HD to SD? Because they're going to give you the exact quality that you're getting on the iPay-per-view, you're going to get on the SD. True. So it's like, I was like, I'm just going to get it in standard.
You were smart.
Yeah.
Smarter than myself.
And I like the entrances, but I kind of was expecting a little more from the entrances for some reason.
Yeah, because I've seen so many, not recently, but I've seen so many.
Like the Mystices coming off what is that thing, the Sting entrance?
Oh yeah,
from being suspended from the air. It scared me though. It's like, why are you guys still doing that?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't like that stuff because I'm traumatized basically from Owen Hart.
Oh,
you know?
How can you not be?
Yeah.
I mean, especially when you think, okay, have they thought this out? Do they have all the proper safety precautions?
Yeah, and then it's Mexico, and you're thinking, this guy's are in Mexico.
Yeah.
And that's the first thing that came to my mind. It's like, come on, WCW, because the crew they brought in was from Hollywood and all that stuff. WWE, I don't remember where I think it was something that they were just careless in how they strapped them or something, right, Owen? There was something that they didn't double strap him or something onto the thing.
Right.
Because they want to make him look like he could do a little more. Whereas Sting was always looking kind of clumsy.
And he could just slip right out of it once he got to the mat.
Yeah.
Because that happened with Sting once.
Because I remember with Sting, it was always like he would like hang there, like he would get there, and he would like always like take a little time. Sometimes he would get it right away, but there was always that one time where he would have a little trouble.
Yeah,
like,
and he'd be trying to fight people off while he was doing that, and it looked silly. But, it's ridiculous that they're worried about that, because like you're saying, they could have sold Owen Hart like he was clumsy, because his character was like a,
Yeah, it was a cartoonish character.
It would have been actually funny if he is trying to struggle and...
Yeah, so then that's what I'm thinking with Mystics. I'm like, oh my god, they're just gonna make him like... But the only thing, he looked safe. Like, he looked like he was still scary. Scary. The match, like I said, I thought the match was good. I liked that Mystics was quick to like be the heel.
And
in the match.
He's a good heel. I still say.
I think that was like the smart thing he did. Like he more or less decided. We didn't even get any story from backstage of Alberto and Mystices getting into a fight, because that was something else that happened during like the week prior to that. Alberto started calling him threatened to kill him and stuff like that to beat him up and everything. Wow. He took down like 2 of the tweets. He took down the tweet where he said that he could Mystices can bring a gun if he wants.
Oh Jesus!
Because he'll need it. And then the second one where he insulted Mystices' father, because then Mystices' brother got involved.
Oh jeez!
And it was like, I think he took those 2 down, but everything else he kept.
What's been up with Alberto? I know that Mystices has no shortage of enemies in this business, but it seems like Alberto's not thinking before he acts lately.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah, especially that whole thing with that charity group.
Yes.
Yeah.
I never heard the final. I guess
he's kind of become a bit of a diva lately,
which is odd because I mean, I remember. Right,
I don't remember him like having that many issues.
Yeah. So yeah, that's really bizarre.
Yeah,
Twitter. It's like so many people think you put something on Twitter that nobody else is going to see it and it's going to magically disappear.
And you should never write anything that stupid.
No. Facebook, Twitter,
and trust me, I'm on Twitter. I tweet a lot, so I do write some stupid shit, but it's never anything that's going to come back and haunt me.
Yeah, exactly. And I do my best to say, okay, is this what I want to write before I push send?
Yeah,
or enter?
It's never anything that bad. Like I know I would never write anything. Like, I would never threaten anybody on... The only thing I know, I won't threaten anybody, and I won't, like, pick up women on Twitter.
Yep, that's
And those
wise.
are the 2 things I'm safe with.
Yes.
That's the two things you don't do that, I'm okay with everything else.
Mm-hmm.
But anything else, like, this... No,
that's wise. That's very wise.
Then at the end of the match, Mysticis turned heel. Actually, at first, they were working against the Perros del Mal and I think it was Perros del Mal and a couple other people. They were fighting them off together. And then suddenly, Mysticis turned on Rey Mysterio, which kind of was confusing.
They should have just had Mysticis
and then the worst
instead of throwing. They overthought that angle. It's an angle that would have worked on Lucha Underground, but
they should have just turned him during the match.
Yeah,
they should have just gone full turn, not had Ray save him or anything. Just use full heel, and that was it.
Because for all the faults of Mysticis' diva behavior over the years, that brief time he was a heel in CMLL. I feel he was a gold standard heel. I thought that guy is a natural heel. And
he's probably going to end up being kind of like the Ingobernables, where they don't care and all that stuff. But I don't think he has that level. He's not that level of heel as La Sombra and Rush. Because La Sombra and Rush actually like doing that.
They're actually in a class by themselves.
Yeah, like Rush actually loves being that character. Like, he doesn't do any... Like, you take a picture with him, he's going to be that.
Yes.
He's going to tell you... I'm taking him with the picture as Rush, the asshole. You want to interview him? He's going to be the asshole, Rush. He's not going to be
that's a good point.
He's not going to be the friendly.
And I'm talking mainly in the ring with Mysticis because I remember I just love how when people got him in his own submission hold, how he'd tap out before it was even fully implemented.
Yeah.
I just loved what a bitch heel he was. That was like so awesome.
And then the show ended. The show ended abruptly because I remember a lot of people on Twitter were saying it's over. What happened? Because it was happening as he was turning, and then like I have Dish Network, it came back, and then showed a little more, and then it just ended. Yeah, because I know people were saying it ended abruptly, and I'm like, oh, it just came back, and it like had a little bit more, but it was weird. Like it really wasn't as much. I think it was Conan. Oh, it was Conan asking him to join them. As with La Sociedad and Perros del Mal and all that.
It went off before that.
It did? Okay, yeah. It came back on mine.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Because I think when it cut off was when he started, like, right when he was starting to talk, it just cut off, and everybody's like, well, it ended. And everybody's like, oh, this is the worst pay-per-view ever. So was it the worst pay-per-view ever?
Yes.
I don't watch that many pay-per-views, so I don't really...
Yes, I used to watch pay-per-views frequently, but I can never remember a pay-per-view that was actually this bad. I wasn't expecting it to be great, but... I was not expecting it to be this.
Well, I thought it was going to be great. I thought it was going to be great when they set the first two matches, and then when they announced the rest, I was like, "Yeah, this isn't going to be that great." When I knew it was going to be bad when they had that half the roster, like about 10 of the members of the roster going to Colombia, and I was like, "Oh, some of the rosters going: Fabi Apache, Aerostar." I can't remember who else, but I think they came back in time for the show, but they didn't. They just weren't booked on the show.
Right.
I'm like, man, that's like the good workers are all gone. It's like, and then they said the first warning was the Villanos match. I was like, oh, that's gonna be bad. And then when they said Blue Demons, they're gonna celebrate Blue Demons' anniversary. I'm like, why not just celebrate that on a TV taping?
That would make more sense. That's not pay-per-view material.
They kind of went with too much nostalgia for this show. Mm-hmm. They should have like made it cool. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't go with the cool factor. Every time you hear Conan talk about AAA, he's always talking about how they want to do more of they want to be cool, hip. We watch all these new TV shows because we want to be up to date with all this stuff. It's like, dude, you guys really didn't do any of that.
No,
and and I'm not even saying that because of what the people who attended. Because I mean, Mexican fans are very nostalgic, but I'm talking about the people here in the U.S. where it's not really like. That's not gonna. It's not gonna fly.
You remember you're selling this to U.S. fans. I mean,
and this show, like, I think it left a bad enough taste. Like, just the audio part was bad enough for them. I think it kind of.
Yeah, the audio alone would have ruined the show. Even if the wrestling was good, the audio from Hugo being cut out to the
having to hear Matt Stryker.
Yes.
And then I tweeted out. I go, oh, Vampiro's running out. Lit on fire to save the announcing, and I was like, that wouldn't save it. And you know why Vampiro wasn't on this? Because he always gives his shout outs to the Juggalos and all that crap.
Yeah, Lord.
It's so sad because that same week, Wednesday, was Lucha Underground's second part of Ultima Lucha, which was great.
That, oh my god. I saw bits of...
You saw part 1, right? You saw part 1, but didn't see all of part 2.
No, I didn't. I saw part 2. I saw, back to Brian Cage. I saw the Brian Cage versus Mac.
And that was great.
I loved
that was
match.
Great.
Yes.
But he was used in a way that makes sense, where it's like he's going against another big dude.
Yes.
And they're just going at it, you know?
It's one of the few matches that I like where they're fighting outside the ring.
Why couldn't they do that with Alberto, you know? That would have been a lot better, instead of having all that interference.
Yeah. And that was a really enjoyable match. And it was nice to see Mac being pushed a bit.
Yeah.
I mean...
He's a good worker.
Yeah, he got some good time in there. And, part of it is the way they film and edit Lucha Underground. That's one of the few places where brawls outside the ring for long periods of time actually can work.
Yeah.
And it really worked with them. That was an enjoyable match.
Yeah. Did you watch the trios match?
I did not watch the trios match.
You didn't watch the trios match?
I did
not.
not.
My goodness. How dare you not watch the trios match?
There's a lot of things I dare.
It wasn't that great. Drago versus Hernandez was called a Believers Backlash match. Mm-hmm. Did you watch that?
No, I didn't.
That match was basically they had like a group of fans around the ring with straps.
Oh, how cool.
So you saw the hot tub guy? You've seen him, right?
Yes,
the
I have.
Hot tub guy?
I have seen the hot tub guy.
And then there's another famous fan that I think we might remember. I can't remember his name, but there was another fan that we're familiar with.
They need Malcolm.
Oh, they had Casey. Casey, he was on a Trauma Taker. And they had that dude, the dude who remember that trio, that guy who used to wrestle in MPW, who later teamed up with the Russian guy and the Cuban dude. They do like a commie group trio.
Oh yeah.
They were at that show, the benefit show. He was the guy taking bumps and stuff. He was like the plant in the. So they would go whip the guys. They would go whip hard on hard on Hernandez. Drago, they wouldn't really go out of their way to whip. But that match was all right. That was pretty good. But part 2 was really good.
Now I saw the Johnny Mundo against Alberto match. My God. WWF totally missed the boat on these guys.
Yeah.
That was a great match, I thought.
Also because the setting, the building, they could do a lot more outside where it looks more like crazy. Because they could go inside offices, go up the steps.
Absolutely.
They could do a lot more.
But they were great.
That was just great. And then I like how they did that one door to that room that has nothing in it. Mm-hmm. Instead of just putting a regular door, they put a door with a glass window or whatever, and I was like, why does that door have a glass window? There's no reason. And it was to throw who was it? Alberto
Mundo through and that was great. It usually when there's like kind of this was the season ender, and usually when they have like a screw finish and then have the babyface go batshit crazy on the heel, doesn't do it for me, but this was an exception. I loved the way Del Rio, or I guess he's Patron now.
Alberto el Patron.
I guess I love the way he, made trying to get the armbar, the entire focus of the match. Mm-hmm. And I loved how Mundo was just trying to duck him. Mundo is a better heel than I remember.
Yeah.
I didn't give him credit, man. I don't
think I gave him credit when he was in WWE, but I didn't watch a lot of that.
I didn't watch enough.
I didn't watch as much when I think he was in a tag team with Miz, right? Mm-hmm. I didn't really watch a lot of that stuff. I started watching when he was a singles wrestler, and I didn't really think a lot about him.
Yeah, whenever I had seen him as babyface, I thought like, why are they going to turn this guy? This guy is so good as a face, and I still think he is, but I think he's a really awesome heel. And then I love this match. I was thinking of you during this match because I love how he went under the ring to get away from Patron, and Patron's looking for him, and when he gets out, he looks like, oh my God, Patron caught me, and Patron grabs him by the hair. And then he throws sand in his face, which I remember you said when you were a little kid.
I used to fight throw.
That's how you fought. You threw sand in the person's face.
Yes. I was like the evil genius. I was like a heel.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yep. and just an overall.
You have to do these things when you're a small kid. You got to find ways to beat.
Exactly, and I hope that after you threw the sand on your face and kicked.
Not my face, on their face.
On their face, yes.
I should have done. Maybe I should have done that. Thrown it at my face, and they would have had sympathy for me. Like, oh my god, he's that crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
He's so crazy. He throws sand in his face.
The equivalent of somebody breaking a bottle over their own head and then say, "Let's go,
let's go, come on."
Yeah, I hope that after you threw the sand in their face, that you went around pointing your finger
like yes,
I'm a wise, evil genius.
No, sadly, I would run.
Or wisely.
Yes,
wisely, you would run.
I only did that like a couple of times, like twice, I think, when I was a kid.
This was a fun match. I as far as like actual matches, not just like all the vignettes and stuff, I really enjoyed this match from start to finish. And
Molina came in
and the romance angle. I dug that.
I'm curious if they're together. I think they might be, right?
I do not know.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll ask them. We'll ask them. We'll ask them on Sunday. We'll go, hey, if she's there, watch her be there. We're like, what are you doing here at an indie show? Like, what are you doing here? Then after that was Pentagon Jr. versus Vampiro. You said you didn't watch that, right?
I did not watch that. How was it?
That was actually pretty good. I actually really liked it. It was like a death match, a death match. Only I didn't like the end of it because it ends up being that Vampiro's his maestro.
Oh, okay.
But it like the build up to it was them trying to kill each other, and he lit him on fire and everything. It was great.
Wow!
He lit Vampiro on fire. People are probably listening to this. Fredo's really enjoying the fact that Vampiro got lit on fire. A little too much, and I probably am.
It might be cathartic to some people.
Yeah. I'm like, well, I actually thought, I actually enjoyed the match itself, but I mean, just the end of it was so silly because it was over the top. I mean, they used light bulbs and all, those light tubes and all that stuff.
It's like they were out to kill each other.
I'm like light bulbs. They're using the little light bulbs. I'm sure they've used those, but light tubes. They're using light tubes.
They're the ones that are economical.
A light bulb turned on Vampiro when he thought maybe this was a bad idea. I'm just kidding.
And then that light bulb broke.
But I just dug it because I mean, and it's so weird. This is where you kind of lose, where AAA loses me. Pentagon Jr. was used so well in this match, and was like this whole season in Lucha Underground. He was a star on that show.
Oh yes.
And where is he in the Triplemania? He's in that 3-way match, and I don't really remember anything he did in that match.
It's like we don't know now that the season's over. We don't know when or if Lucha Underground will return. But if for some reason they didn't return, AAA should just become Lucha Underground.
They should just hire Chris DeJoseph to book their shows, you know? If that's the problem, Phoenix won the Gift of the Gods, which is a great name for an award. He beat 6 other wrestlers, because it was 7, right? 7.
I do not know.
7 medals. 7 medallions. How do you not know this? Didn't you see the build up to it? Didn't you see when they would get the little bag with the medallion in it?
I saw a little...
But you never really understood it? No. Dude, everybody got a medallion. Then they all had to come together, put the medallion, and they put it on a belt.
Okay.
The belt had 7 medallions.
I did see the belt, and I remember just thinking how cool that belt was.
Yeah, but you just didn't understand
I didn't know the whole story. Yeah. I didn't.
So they put the medallions, and then they were going to have a match, and Phoenix was the last guy who got it, and he ended up winning, which was actually a really fun match.
Oh, cool.
Definitely something you should watch.
I saw the next match.
Then the next match. Kurt...
I was so bummed.
Like, this is serious. This is really how bad Kurt is. You could, give him an entire show, and it'll be, a bunch of good matches, and he'll pick the worst match possible to watch. Kurt, you watched Blue Demon Jr. versus Tejano Jr. Tell us about it.
Now, here's a question. Aside from a complete delusion and incompetence, why do you think I picked this match?
Because of... you wanted to see Tejano Jr. if he could carry Blue Demon.
Yes, exactly.
Because
you know me well. You know me well.
You know you're a good worker if you could carry Blue Demon Jr.
And I admire that.
Because Blue Panther, Hijo Santo, and I think there's a third guy who I can't remember had a great match with him. And those guys are guys that are great workers. Because Blue Demon Jr. very rarely has good matches.
Yeah, because that actually intrigues me more than a match between two great workers. I know I'm going to see a good match. But I love to see what somebody can do. Somebody who's known for carrying people.
Yeah, and sadly, Tejano Jr. failed.
Yeah, but
they had Chavo got involved, and the crew was involved also.
And I thought that whole Chavo and joining forces with Blue Demon was a little, I don't know.
I know. I mean,
Just
Mexico.
didn't work for me.
I mean, Mexico was coming to get Chavo, and now everybody's helping him.
Exactly.
I'm pretty sure Mexico still wants a piece of him. You know?
Yeah.
Mexico.
Yeah, it's almost
so Chavo, if you're listening, Mexico's coming to get you.
How dare you, Chavito?
And we're going to try to get the right guys to come and get you. Next Sunday, Volador Jr. and Mephisto. Just a couple of names that we're going to try to get to come and get you.
Well, in fact, let's mention that show really briefly.
Well, we'll do it. You want to do it now? Oh, well, let's do it now because we don't. Well, we're still not done. We still need the Mil Muertes Prince Puma, but we could do. I mean, do you think that's really going to happen?
No.
Johnny Mundo works for. Okay, so
no, they will be there at the show.
Yeah,
it's August 30th.
Yes, August 30th. UIPW LA is running a show at the same place in Clea Avenue.
On Clela, yes.
Clela? Is it Clela?
Clela, yeah.
Okay, I don't know what it's like. I got Clela.
It's right on the corner of Clela and Whittier Boulevard in East Los Angeles.
Yeah, their main event that they've been promoting for like the last month. Mm-hmm. And there's another show happening that day too, Lucha Libre VIP. We'll talk about that too. Mm-hmm. This show for UIPW LA, their main event is going to be Johnny Mundo versus Mephisto. Both of those guys are challenging Volador Jr. for the UIPW LA heavyweight title. We kind of don't know if it's going to happen because for those who don't know, Volador Jr. and Mephisto work for CMLL, and Johnny Mundo works for Lucha Underground and kind of works for AAA too. So
yeah, I picture them all showing up, but I don't think that.
And all of them say, "Hey, I don't think we can do this."
Yeah,
someone's going to say it. I'm guessing this, and I'm sure it'll be that. People will say it's the CMLL guys, but it's also going to end up probably being Johnny Mundo.
Yes.
Maybe saying something too. But it's like, and the promoter.
I can't blame them. I would.
If it happens, I'll be shocked. I'll be entertained. I'll watch it.
It's worth the gamble to go. When we still get to see them, I think Volador Jr. is awesome in person.
Worst case scenario, you get Volador Jr. versus Mephisto.
And that's not bad.
That's not bad. And you get Johnny Mundo in another match.
Exactly.
And there's actually some pretty good matches. Superboy Jr. and Principe Indu Jr. defending the UIPW tag team titles.
Superboy Jr.'s. I didn't mention this to you.
Oh.
Concussion? No, he has to get surgery on the orbital.
Oh.
Yes. I just found this out a few days ago. I meant to tell you.
Oh, he's out.
So he should be out. So I don't know who they'll have fill in.
So
hopefully somebody good, because Indu Jr.'s
still going to be on there?
too, yeah. I assume he'll still be on there.
Versus famous BNB Boy, which...
Oh, and that would have been a great match.
Well, I guess they could put Johnny Mundo teaming with Principe Indu Jr.
That'd be cool, though.
That would be like Lucha Underground.
It would be, totally.
Yeah. Wow, we'll talk about FPW, and since you brought it up already. Well, you watched. Did you watch Mil Muertes versus Prince Puma? What did you think of that match?
I watched snippets of it, and again,
that was a great match.
Prince Puma, I bow to that guy. He's awesome.
Mil Muertes is really good too.
He is too.
But it's so funny. Lately, the way AAA's booking Messias, you would really think Mil Muertes and Messias aren't the same person.
I agree. Yes.
Messias looks nothing like Mil Muertes. Mil Muertes looks really good. Maybe they separated Ricky Banderas. And now it's Ricky Banderas right here, Mil Muertes over here, and Messias on the other side.
I think that's a great
Maybe they split them.
I think they should just acknowledge the split and really go with the surreal psychedelic concept, like something like a Scanner Darkly, where he has two separate... the left hemisphere of his brain and his right hemisphere are just two separate...
Yeah, because
items, and he's confused. He's one person one day.
You watch Mil Muertes on Lucha Underground, you're like, wow, this guy's really good. And then
I enjoy watching.
And the thing is, Messias and AAA's have been very good in the past, but the last year he's really been like not even a non-factor.
No.
Yeah. Well, Prince Puma lost to Mil Muertes. Actually, what happened on the season ending was Mil Muertes and the Disciples of. I forgot what they're called. Disciples.
Yes.
They all won titles.
That's strange. I knew instead of you.
The trios.
Something's wrong there.
I don't know. It's all your fault.
Everything's my fault.
I think you distracted me with Superboy Jr. needing surgery.
Yes.
When is he getting surgery?
In a few weeks.
Oh, so it's not going to be right away?
No, not right away.
Ugh.
So, yeah, I was bummed to hear that news.
That sucks.
Sounds like he's going to be okay, though, which is good news.
Yeah, that's good. Could have been worse. I mean, it looked really bad. Well, we'll talk about it in a bit.
Yes.
They all ended up. They all ended in the show with all of Katrina's group holding the titles. Mm-hmm. And then they had a little vignette. Did you watch the vignette at the end?
I did watch the video at the end, which I really dug.
With Phoenix going up. No, it was Drago going up in the as a dragon flying away.
Yes.
Aerostar, I think, went like a rocket ship, didn't he? Like he just like a rocket. He like Rocketeer. People are like Rocketeer. What?
Wait, yes, I do.
Like a Rocketeer.
Like that.
Yeah, like
he
went like
him looking upward.
Yeah, and then he like went up or something. Yeah. Like that. And then everybody else was driving off.
Include.
Oh yeah, we
who all drew up? I'm trying to remember who else.
Dario Cueto got that girl.
Yes.
Black Lotus.
Yes.
To turn on Dragon Azteca. Mm-hmm. And she murdered Dragon Azteca. She murdered him. She murdered him. And I think at the end, some other guy's now going to be Dragon Azteca, wasn't it? Somebody picked up the mask and put it on. So we actually saw 2 potential murders during the season, which I thought was great. I mean,
it's a TV show.
Yeah, it's a TV show.
It's not real life.
And
it's a TV show.
What else happened? Oh, and they took Matanza with them. They went on a road trip with Matanza, Dario, Matanza Cueto.
Yes.
The monster.
Son of Havoc.
And
I'm blanking.
Ivelisse?
He got on her motorcycle and she took him away.
Yeah. How did Angelico leave?
I don't remember. I so don't.
What about Jack Evans? Jack Evans got on a skateboard and. They should have everybody like as they left.
He moonwalk and breakdance.
Their forms of transportation.
He embraced his old roots and breakdanced away. I mean, wasn't he a breakdancer before he was a wrestler? That's what I've always heard.
I think so.
What I love is when the Disciples of Death were, celebrating their victory in the ring. Mike Stryker said, "And now the age of death begins here in Lucha Underground." And I hope they're not referring to the death. Underground. I really hope, because I love this show. Yeah. It's a great show.
You think it's coming back?
I have no idea.
I think it's.
I never know what to.
I don't think it's ever going to come back. I'm just kidding.
It's just whenever they say we're 99% sure, I think about in the dying days of ECW how Paul Heyman was very slick in saying we have a TV deal just a handshake away, and people.
They're trying to get on Netflix and all. They try to get like people to like tell them Netflix needs Lucha and all this stuff. But it's like I don't know if
they
they're
should
gonna
just try to sell the show itself and show how unique it is. I mean, because this isn't just a wrestling show.
It just seems weird that none of these online services have that show on it.
It is strange because that actually seems like an optimal place for it. Yeah. It'd be better to have it on Amazon Prime or Netflix rather than El Rey, because like I said, I only
Crackle. Can we get it on Crackle?
Like I said, I don't even get the El Rey network. I only get the Spanish feed on my...
Oh, so you watched this on the Spanish feed?
I watched the...
Online.
The Brian Cage and Mac, and I watched the other one online. And again, like we were talking about Stryker, I liked Stryker during the Johnny Mundo.
I'm telling you, that's what I thought. Like, he had a lot more enthusiasm, and that kind of covers up a lot of the flaws.
I agree. And
yes, it's as an announcer, but when he's like doing the show, especially live, I think maybe also because it's taped, but when he's doing the show live, it just looks like he loses.
Exactly. It's like there's 2 very different Mac Strikers, one that really blows and the other who is really good. And like I said...
He called a Mystica the Flying Fujiwara armbar, which technically it is, but it's like... But that's not what it's called. It's called La Mystica. We're Mexicans. It's La Mystica.
Yes.
Come on, get it right.
It'd like me saying, "Oh, look at that Frankensteiner."
Yes. Well, you could call it Frankensteiner.
You can.
Scott Steiner invented it. Just kidding. Remember that whole thing?
I'll never forget the first time I saw that move was Raul Mata did it, and I do think on YouTube. I don't know if you've ever come across those 8mm films of LA wrestling.
I probably have it.
Somewhere there, and shockingly, I actually remember attending this match when I was 12, and I only went to maybe one match a year when I was a kid, but I think somewhere in there's a match of him versus Kim Sung-ho, and if I remember right, he's doing a Rana, and Raul Mata did a Rana that was so dynamic, even by today's standards.
Wow!
That guy, it's. I want to scream when I think about how much video there should be of him out there.
Well, there's so much stuff that you wish there was available.
Exactly.
But it's not.
Just the way it is. Every now and then we get a nice surprise on YouTube.
Yeah.
Like I know there was one that's been on there for a few years.
Like that one dude who was there for what, Jelly Beans. Remember Jelly Beans when he was on there? And they just disappeared. YouTube. He just disappeared.
He had that early '80s.
Yeah, he had all
Olympic
that
stuff.
And I regret not. I think Bix might have got some of it.
Oh, did he? Ooh.
I don't know what he got.
David Dickinson's band.
I don't know what he got, but I remember he would like ask. I think we were talking about it one time, and we were like, "Who's that?"
Dixie Demon, we must talk.
Yeah.
We must talk really soon. Oh wow, but. Well, because every now and then they'll show a few minutes of a TV match from Mexico in the 60s. Like there was some really cool, maybe 2 minutes worth of Rayo de Jalisco Sr. on YouTube. That was
probably from a movie.
No, this was definitely TV. This definitely was not a movie. Well,
because they used a lot of TV for the movies too.
They did, but if you look at this,
it had the announcers and all that.
Yeah, these look like This had that kinescope feel. I'll forward it to you tonight when I get. But I saw it, and it was fun seeing him do that reverse headbutt, which looked so much cooler than.
Well, that's what Goro Maya Jr. uses now.
Yeah.
Yeah, the reverse headbutt.
Yes.
That's why Volador Jr. told him he wrestled like an old timer, like old school, like an 80s
some
wrestler.
Old school. I know you can't go back to old school, but some old school things.
But that's what Goro Maya Jr. told us. Remember that one day we were talking? He said he liked that style, and that's what he feels that's the style. There's so many guys who don't really pick up any of the old moves. He's like, I like picking up that old.
And you know what? If everybody did the new style, everybody would look exactly the same. And I think it looks cool when somebody does stuff that stands out. So
Lucha Underground, you think it's coming back?
I hope it does. I so hope it's coming back.
I think it might come back, but I mean, the longer they take. Like if this, I'll tell you, if this Johnny Mundo, Volador Jr. Mephisto match happens, I don't think it's coming back. Just kidding. No, I would say like by October, if we don't really hear anything, I think that's when we should start worrying.
It would be a bummer because I want to say it's so rare that an experiment like this is so well done. I mean, the first two things that come to mind, one is, what was that promotion in the mid-90s? It was on late night TV. I think it was on one of the networks.
The AWF?
It was the one, it was the
on
one
Channel 2?
Yeah, was that the one that was bringing back like Bob Orton and
the old guys? Yeah, I used to watch that.
I watched it too, but it was like,
I was like, it's wrestling, I'll watch it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it was before you could just go on YouTube and find anything you've ever wanted. But I watched it and I thought, it's a nice sentiment, but no, this sucks.
I think just the fact that it's something different was like enough for me to watch it.
Yeah. Well, and same with XPW. I admire the quality.
XPW was like something I wouldn't watch, which is weird.
Same here.
But I got in bad quality. I would get it on tapes.
Yeah, I mean, I watched it a few times. It wasn't my cup of tea, but I gave it to them for really trying something really different. And it was fun seeing our local boys get some really good TV exposure.
For me, it was just because I got it in tape and it wasn't in good quality.
Right.
Because the guy told me, he's like, it's not in good quality.
Yeah.
Because it was like all like, like a channel that he was getting all scrambled and like you could barely, sometimes you would see it well, sometimes you wouldn't. I was like, I'm not going to watch it.
Yeah, I think I was used to that because that's.
I was just happy because he would put that and then he would get great quality the Wild Side in Georgia, the promotion that the Wild Side. And I could watch that. I was like, I just dug it because it looks so like raw, like so like dirty and everything. It's online. I dig that. Chris Zellner's watching it.
I love the raw and dirty look.
Yeah.
I really do. It's.
You got all these fat Southern guys in the shows and stuff.
Yeah,
and badasses. Really black built dudes, really rebuffed black dudes.
And they're just in there to kick each other's butts.
Sounds racist. Like it's borderline. The show's borderline racist sometimes.
I mean, I'll never forget when I first saw Memphis TV in the early '80s. My jaw kind of dropped because not only I was used to heels saying racist stuff to get heat with the fans. But I'd hear baby faces saying racist stuff about black heels, and I'm like, whoa.
You know what used to always upset me?
What's that?
You know how they would always have like tag teams or whatever? No matter what happened, it was always the black guys together. They never had them like with other.
The first time I saw
and I was like, dude, why can't this guy team with a white guy? And that was always my whole like problem. Like I would constantly argue over that.
And one of
or the Mexicans, they would have the Mexicans together. It's like, why can't these guys team up?
The few times it was broken was Coco Beware and Bobby Eaton.
Yeah,
which was very cool.
And that was the first team I saw that I was like, oh, that's a cool tag team.
Same here. Oh, in fact, I remember when Coco Beware turned babyface. This was bizarre because we used to get some of the.
We should have the great biracial tag teams. Just
remember, like in the 40s, they would have a Negro champion.
Yeah.
They would have Negro champions.
Uh-huh.
Blacks wrestling blacks only. Yeah, so it wouldn't have shocked me if there was a biracial tag team.
Just like one white dude teaming up with a black dude, like that would be like the
absolutely
or a Mexican guy. Like I never like saw Chavo Guerrero teaming up often with another like white guy. Like even when he was in Mid-South, I never saw that. It never,
I never thought of that.
And it wasn't something I would think about all the time. I was like, why isn't he teaming up? He's always teaming up with his brother, or if he was like in they would bring in some other Mexican dude like Manny Villalobos or something like that.
Yeah.
And I would be like, Manny Villalobos sucks. Come on, he's a jobber. There was always one guy, or like Al Madril would team up with Al Perez. I'm like, dude,
yeah,
how can they can't get along? Al Madril's like an old, middle-aged Mexican dude, and Al Perez is like a young, like from Cube, Florida type of. They were different type of.
Yeah, I always thought it was a shame that Al Perez wasn't like maybe 10 years younger, because there was another Al Perez here.
You're like, Al Perez? There's Al Perez.
Yeah, it was an older Al Perez, and he was kind of more, stocky, like barrel-chested build, and I guess he was a bona fide butt kicker. I didn't know that till years after, but I thought it'd be fun having the old Al Perez teach, mentoring the.
Was there ever like a wrestler that you saw and you just knew sucked? Like you weren't really into like.
When I was a kid.
Yeah, just some guy you just saw him. It's like, oh man.
You know what? As little as I knew about wrestling, it didn't take me long to see how just bad Superstar Graham was.
Yeah.
And I was like spanking brand new to wrestling.
Yeah.
And I just thought, whenever he'd get in the ring and flex those muscles, I thought, this is the coolest guy. He's going to kick this other guy's ass.
Because you would see like really like those guys. The Brody. Since I grew up in the '80s, there was a bunch of dudes that would like grow their beards, look like Brody. Yes. You thought, oh, these guys are badasses. But then there was always like that one guy you watch and like, oh, come on, this guy's a joke. He's Absolutely. Not that good. He would like do everything wrong and everything. Like I never liked the Warlord for some reason. I never thought he was like that impressive.
I never got into him.
The Barbarian, I thought, oh, this guy can go because he used to do like kicks and stuff like that. And, like he could, like if he could lift his leg higher than his waist, I thought, oh, he could do that. But Warlord just looked like a big dude. I was like, dude, come on, this guy can't do anything.
Yeah, and oh well, I'm trying to remember. Somebody came to mind. Every now and then, LA would use somebody who is a jobber who you could tell was from the Venice Beach crowd. And I always wonder, maybe they knew Jack Armstrong or one of the guys that learned a little bit of wrestling. And they'd come in just looking like $1 million. Yeah,
they'd move their little muscles,
and
their chest muscles.
So cool. And then they would do absolutely nothing in the ring and then get pinned.
I was like, man, why is this guy?
At least they didn't put them over. There's a lot of mistakes the LaBelle promotion
and it was so weird because like you would watch NWA.
Yeah.
And it would have like Mike Jackson, and you'd be like, Mike Jackson looks like my grandfather, and he would like go and it's like, holy shit, this guy's great. Like it didn't take that long for you to realize that guy was great.
Like remember that Guatemala TV show that tape we had? Jorge Mendoza?
I know I have it on YouTube. I posted it on YouTube.
But he looked like somebody's grandfather.
Yeah, and he could go, and you're like, this Bob Armstrong. When I first saw Bob Armstrong, that dude looked old, and I thought he was great because first of all, he could talk.
Yeah.
And he could still go. You look like one of those old guys who could like beat the shit out of somebody.
Exactly. He's like the Jack LaLanne of pro wrestling.
But there's always those guys, and that's what that pisses me off. Oh, we should get back to AAA. Their webmaster, the same day that Triplemania happened, and I made a joke about it. I said the Triplemania was so bad that their webmaster quit.
Oh my god!
But he moved up. He got a new job. He got a new position in the company he works for, the online business.
Right.
But AAA, first of all, like I think last week they announced that they were doing a web store, an online store through some site, Kill Chick or something like that. And today they announced that they're going to have they're going to have a new website, a new design, a new web design, and they're going to start doing their. But I think it might be somebody through Court Bauer. It sounds kind of like, because they're doing a lot of the English stuff.
Possibly, yeah.
That kind of sounds like it's gonna be horrible.
So now I've heard. I don't know if you've heard this.
It's gonna be horrible. I don't have a lot of faith in my faith. I hate to say it. I don't want to blame Court Bauer and all this, but I think my faith on.
Well, I heard that he actually took full responsibility for how badly
I'll give him credit for that.
Went.
Yeah,
it's rare somebody.
He didn't take
that.
credit for the booking though. He said, "I'm not taking credit for the bad booking." It's like. Well, we should talk about
now big news in CMLL, right?
Well, we
or
should
what do you want to talk about first?
You want to go talk about Roddy Piper so we can get the?
Yeah, I'm just going to briefly mention it.
We could go end on a high note because it's going to be sad.
This is true.
Roddy Piper died.
Every old school Los Angeles fan, Dan Farron, myself, Danny Wolf, a lot of people got to see a very different Roddy Piper from the product that most people remember in the WWF. Now,
and that's what I'm familiar with.
Exactly, and I think that's what most people are familiar with, because that's when that's when wrestling really started becoming like a national mainstream.
I just hope there's not a lot of fans who started watching him like in 2000. 1999.
Yeah, I'm sure they would understand.
They would be like, how
what's
people
the big deal about that?
Well, if you started watching wrestling by then, you were learning about history and stuff like that.
And Fredo, I'm sure, is going to chuckle as I say this, but I'm actually writing something about the evolution of Roddy Piper from...
Kurt has been writing this for 4 months. I'm just kidding. No, actually, you started writing it.
Passed away a month ago or so.
you started writing this when the site crashed, and you're using that as a reason for
absolutely.
Writing it.
I am using it as an excuse.
Yeah.
I've been really like.
You started writing it after he passed away.
Yeah, and I've been really flaky with my writing, even flakier than I usually am. But no, I'm working on something that I hope people will dig. About his evolution from when I first saw him in Los Angeles to. Portland, then to Georgia, and to the WWF. But I do want to briefly...
What about WCW? You're going to pretend that never happened?
I'm going to pretend that never happened. No, I'm going to start from his
Speaking of worst pay-per-view matches, Piper was in a couple that were really bad in WCW.
Yes,
so.
Was it the one with him and Hogan that was
I think
really
that was one of the really bad ones.
Well...
You know what? I really gotta say, that's one of the things when people were saying about the Villanos and Psycho Circus match. I watched a lot of the really bad WCW pay-per-views, the uncensored matches.
And at some point, I stopped watching them, so I probably missed some really bad ones. I never saw the famous one finger defeat. Was it Kevin?
That was on Nitro, wasn't it?
Oh, that was on Nitro.
That was
okay.
on Nitro.
I stand corrected then.
You're like, I didn't watch that Nitro.
No, I didn't see it. I don't remember seeing it.
It was 3 hours long. You probably tuned out.
I think I tapped out by that time. No, but I'm working on that, but I do want to briefly just talk about how actually privileged I feel that I actually saw the dawning of Roddy Piper as a star. And I remember he was hyped as coming in, I think, at December of 75.
Because you had started watching by 72, 73?
I started watching in 72.
72.
And late in 1975, when they were hyping the Battle Royal, one of the names was Roddy Piper. And
you were like, Roddy Piper, that's a silly name. No?
No, I thought it was kind of cool.
No.
I when they said Java Rook is coming, I went, that's one of the coolest names I've heard. You got to remember, I grew up on both LA wrestling and Argentina wrestling.
So there were some
silly
weird
names I thought rocked. I mean, I still love Yolanka, the spaceman, But so I was always curious when there was a new wrestler, and I got a lot of the Apter mags and the Canadian Wrestling Monthly mags, and here was somebody I never heard of, so I'd always be intrigued. And when he came in, he was mainly just this babyface who just really got his butt kicked. And I think I only saw him once, but...
So you got to see him as a babyface in LA?
And it was only for maybe a few weeks.
Oh, wow.
As the story goes, he was supposed to just be here for about a month and then go up to Portland. But Leo Garibaldi, who Jeff Walton goes on record saying is the greatest booker he ever knew, he saw something in Piper and wanted to turn him heel.
Could he book Triplemania again?
If you could bring him back to life, he might have done something.
I think he could have done a better job, but...
I think he could have. But he saw something in Piper, and even Piper, even though Piper spun a lot of fanciful tales over the years, he gives credit where credit is due, and it was Garibaldi's idea to turn him heel and make him into Roddy Piper. And I'll never forget the night he turned heel, and the way they did it, or I shouldn't say the night he turned heel, but his first TV appearance as a heel. The way they did it is Johnny Rods at the time was playing Java Rook, this madman from the Middle East who would never win matches because he would beat the guy, and then he'd keep beating them, and he'd always get disqualified. And so one night they had him demolish Piper, and the following Wednesday on TV, Piper came into the ring with a T-shirt on, and on the back of it said, "If you can't beat them, join them."
Oh, wow.
And he just grabbed the mic, and Rook is stalking around like a madman, and Rook, the only words he would say were, "Rook, Rook," and Piper he was a natural from day one.
So what did he become, like his manager or something?
Yes, and what it was, he said something along the lines of, "I want to say what a wonderful lesson I learned from this man, Java Rook. I was being a fool, trying to be kind, trying to, be a good technical wrestler, and this guy taught me that that's not the way to go. So I want you all to read the back of my shirt," and then he pauses and says, "Oh, I forgot. You're wrestling fans. Most of you can't read." And he said, "This guy beat me into oblivion, so I joined him." And that was the birth of Piper the heel. And he was unlike any heel I had ever seen before. Most heels were tough-talking, real guttural or, scowling bad guys.
Yeah.
Occasionally you'd get this really unique person like an Oliver Humperdinck, who was kind of a flamboyant manager, arrogant, and you just wanted to see him get his butt kicked for that. But Piper was the first wrestler I saw who... He was like a laughing hyena.
Yeah.
He had a lot in common with the WWF Piper, but this Piper, there was this coward deep inside. He'd be kicking ass and taking names, smiling and laughing all the way, but as soon as somebody got his number or put him in a bad position, like if he was put in a Lucha Leave Town match, and those were back in the days when you lost a Lucha Leave Town match, you actually left.
Yeah.
It was, guys were going to other territories. And so...
Now you can't go anywhere.
Yeah, exactly, yes.
Well, that's why they don't do them anymore. It's
well, but...
Unless your contract's ending and you decide you want to do something for the promotion or...
Exactly, and they do...
But that really doesn't... I don't even think that's happened. I can't really...
I don't think so either. But basically, what they do is... Somebody like, a lot of times a heel would turn, and when he turned, he'd turn against Piper, and it was painted like, "Oh, Piper is such an asshole that even the despicable people get tired of him."
Yeah.
And when he would get locked into that Lucha Leave Town match, he'd come on TV like in tears, like no, this can't be. Like, why is everybody turning against me? Oh, and he tried to make up with Chavo Guerrero.
Yeah.
Whenever they'd have a stipulate like a Texas death match or something like that, he would like, Chavo, I've really always admired you. Let's just bury the hatchet. And Gene LaBelle would shake his head and said, "This is all your fault, Roddy Piper." But it's funny. Even though I knew little about wrestling at the time, even I knew this dude is going to be a star, but I had no idea.
He'd be that big a star.
Yeah, I had no idea he'd be a mainstream icon in the mid-'80s. And just...
Did you see him in Portland?
You know what? When I moved up to Oregon, I got to see him once before he left the territory.
You go to Georgia, right?
Yeah, Carolinas, and then Georgia, yeah. No, I got to see him once, and man...
Did you watch him in Carolinas and Georgia?
Georgia. That was like when I first got cable TV, and even just as Gordon Soley's sidekick, he was amazing.
Yeah.
He was just amazing.
And then WWE ruined him.
Well,
they made him a bigger star than he ever
did.
would.
Oh, no. It was the best move he could have made.
That's the weird thing. Like with WWE, I think most fans who might not be familiar with wrestlers outside of their time in WWE, they think, oh, they were great in WWE, and you tell them, oh, they're a lot better elsewhere.
Oh, yes.
And it's like, it's true. Like a lot of the guys, like practically everybody, but the thing is, WWE makes you a star. That's what
exactly
remembers you.
And you're doing it on their
Ted
terms.
DiBiase, everybody remembers him as the $1 Million Man. So the hardcore fans remember him from Mid-South.
Yes.
Junkyard Dog, same thing.
Mm-hmm.
The British Bulldogs, they were in other places. probably a lot better than they.
But that's what.
Because I don't even think they would last it that long. They were like he got hurt pretty fast. Didn't he? Like dynamite kick.
Oh, he banged up his body quickly, which is what freaks me out about so many people just doing all these high impact moves. But that's just the way it is.
Yeah, and Piper's kind of.
But
and we actually met him like a couple of years ago too.
Yeah, he was real nice to us.
Didn't we see him again?
Did we? I thought it was just that one time in Simi Valley.
I kind of recall we might have seen him again.
Well, Dan Farron got
for some reason I remember we saw him again, like afterwards.
Yeah, Dan Farron actually got to work with him on one of Danny Wolf's productions on a TV show, and we'll have to ask.
He was actually a really nice guy when we met him. Like,
well, that's one thing. You know, he had a lot of run-ins with people outside of wrestling, but it seems like whenever there was like some sort of event with a fan, you never heard about him being a dick to the fans. He always seemed like he was really nice. Our friend Sophia got to meet him. I mean, she was so jazzed. Yeah. And that makes people's days.
She was like, I can't believe, when she was telling me, she's like, I can't believe you're not that excited about meeting Roddy Piper. And I'm like, yeah. But, you know, that's just me, you know. It's not, and plus, I'm excited to meet him. I'm just not it's not something that's, like, it's not something that's gonna like, oh my god, and especially if you meet somebody already before that. What? When you meet wrestlers, like I think I had already met Mil Máscaras.
Yes.
Dos Caras, Canek.
We've met so many.
I'd already met some. You know, you go to all these shows, you've already met a lot of wrestlers. By the time you meet Roddy Piper, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, cool. I met Roddy Piper. Well, you know, I'm excited, but I'm not showing it. You know.
But I was sad to hear he passed. But I mean, man. Did a lot, and you know.
Meanwhile, Hulk Hogan's getting into more trouble.
Oh boy! oh boy!
The rise and fall of Hulkamania, man. Well, back to some good news. The big news this past week.
Oh boy, yes.
The 82nd anniversary coming up for CMLL, September 18th. The main event was announced.
Atlantis.
It is going to be Atlantis versus La Sombra. Mask versus mask. Now, there's still a chance they might change it, you know.
I hope they do.
You never know with CMLL. But this is, so far, it's a singles match. And the way Atlantis made it sound, he doesn't want it to change. He wants it to be Atlantis versus Sombra. Because that same day they announced that match, there was even more big news for CMLL. And a lot of... And, you know, as a hardcore fan, I would rather, like... To me, I'd rather they elevate younger talent and turn them into stars. But as a fan that wants... the promotion to grow and everything, and understands they gotta fill the building a little more.
Yes,
you need stars, and they brought in two of the biggest stars in Mexico. L.A. Park and Dr. Wagner Jr. are returning.
Who you thought would never welcomed back,
especially Dr. Wagner Jr. because he was talking so much trash about Paco Alonso
and Paco Alonso
actually talked back about him like.
Yes,
he's ungrateful.
It's amazing. It's amazing because Paco Alonso has such a track record of.
I think that kind of tells you that the whole thing with Santo was all about money more than anything else, and him having to deal with his wife. I think that kind of was more of a. I'm guessing that might have been more of it. It doesn't. He's probably like an old school type of guy and doesn't want to deal with the wife. You know what I mean? I think that's what it is. Because some men are like that, you know.
But this is exciting news.
Yeah. And the reason I wanted to say that right away is because when they asked one of the questions they asked Atlantis, a fan asked Atlantis, wouldn't you rather have Dr. Wagner Jr. join in this match with La Sombra and turn it into a three-way? And Atlantis was like, no. First of all, Dr. Wagner Jr. had his chances, always backed out. Mm-hmm. He's like, he's a lot of talk. He's like, and La Sombra and I, we've kind of been here for all this time. We were in the last 2 anniversary shows. We both deserve this. Like, it should just be a singles match. The fans deserve a singles match, so it's going to be a singles match until they change their mind or something.
And I feel I usually hate to pat myself on the back, but there's a lot of people didn't see anything in Sombra, and for several years now, I just thought this guy is. Even when he has a mask that has nothing on it, he looks more charismatic than.
Why are you patting yourself on the back? We all thought he was good.
I knew some people.
I think you're talking about Dave Meltzer, who follows me on Twitter now, so you can't talk bad about him.
I won't say a thing, no.
He follows me, stop talking bad about him.
He said he had no charisma.
That, I don't know who he was talking about. Because I don't think Dr. Lucha ever told him. I don't know, I mean.
Yeah, that...
I don't think Dr. Lucha ever told him that.
No, but I heard several people just not see that much in Sombra. They never said he sucked, but...
They just said he lacked charisma, and then it even got weirder when Meltzer said he looked like he got fat. Remember when he was going through that phase where he thought Sombra got fat? He's like, he looked exactly the same. He's like, he's not fat. He just looks... He got bigger. He got bulkier. He's muscular.
He did.
Yeah.
I just... And especially when we saw him and Volador in L.A. earlier this year... Man, that guy, seeing him live is an experience. And I don't say that often. The
way he plays the heel role, he's just... When he joined up with Rush and La Mascara, he's not really that great. But when he joined Rush, and Rush is so, like, in character and so crazy... And so angry, I always think, man, that dude's gonna have a stroke or something.
The closest thing to a new Perros Del Mal.
Yeah, like I don't even think Perros Del Mal were ever that angry. They were like they just look cool. They were cool.
Yes,
the Perros Del Mal were cool. Rush and Sombra are just like these crazy angry dudes. Like you just worry what they're gonna hurt somebody.
Yes,
or have a stroke like during a match.
It's like
they're so wired.
If you had a hybrid of Perros Del Mal and Roddy Piper.
Some crazy just find the craziest, angriest heel you could find. Yeah. And that's basically what Rush and
Sombra. They could just stay out of trouble and not with the fans.
And I always thought Sombra's gonna be fine because he's a good worker, but then all of a sudden he became what Rush is. Like he was actually like being as big a dick as Rush.
Yes.
And it's like it's amazing. And so now them and the only thing was like Atlantis. I think we're so used to CMLL building stuff up over years. Mm-hmm. Like I think the Ultima Girl Atlantis thing. Not only was it that 1 year where they swerved us and had Volador versus Sombra, which was also a feud that had gone on for a year or two prior to that. But Ultima Girl and Atlantis goes from when they broke up, and then they continued for another year. Whereas La Sombra versus Atlantis, really, the guy I actually heard more often challenge wanting Atlantis mask was Rush, but that was always on their TV show, on their interviews, their Informa show, which doesn't seem to coincide with what they're doing on TV, anyways, because everybody's fantasy booking on that show.
Yeah, it's true.
So then they had 2 weeks ago. They started 3 weeks ago. They started doing that, and it's like. Now they're going to do that instead of just... Because everything prior to that was Thunder versus Ultimo Guerrero. Which we thought was over with. But I think they're going to do that as the other mask versus hair, like the undercard.
Like the undercard.
Yeah. Like the second... Like maybe they'll have They'll have that, then a trios match with Dr. Wagner and Alley Park.
And
maybe.
And for the
it's going to be a loaded show, though.
For the reason we said earlier, I do want to see the Ultimo Guerrero versus Thunder match just to see... If Ultimo Guerrero can do something with that match, then...
Because that's when you'd see... I think he would, because he'll bump all over the place for him.
Yeah, which would be the way to go. I mean,
And Ultimo Guerrero's been pretty good lately, too.
Yes.
So Atlantis versus Sombra, who do you think is going to win the mask match?
Oh, geez, I have no idea.
This is one of those where you don't know, because we've heard stories. We heard Atlantis stories about him wanting to get a payoff already.
Well, they should give him a good payoff. They should give him
and that's really the guy who loses. Technically, is the one that is doing something because they deserve it.
Exactly. I mean, my assumption is Sombra is going over. You never know, but I think it would be a mistake.
I think like this is how I view it. La Sombra would win because he's the young guy who you want to elevate, and he gets one of the biggest masks probably. Mm-hmm. And like Atlantis was saying, they were asking. I can't remember if it was Atlantis who said it. Might have been Atlantis who said it, where they asked him about his mask, and he said, "Well, right now my mask is really the big prize." Mm-hmm. Actually, Rush was the one that said that the big prize in CMLL is Atlantis mask. That's the big prize.
Yeah. I mean,
and that's what La Sombra winning it would be like the biggest thing for him, the defining moment for him to be like the next superstar. But then I also think, what if La Sombra has a cool look? He's a cool, good-looking young guy or something.
I never thought about that, but that's.
And maybe he wants some money. Like maybe he needs money or something.
It's true.
Like maybe he's
that'd be kind of sad if he was doing it just for the money.
Then the other thing is like maybe they want to build up Atlantis as this really incredible, like the Undertaker, where he's like got this streak, and then he'll drop it eventually to somebody else. But then I think who's he going to drop? He could drop it to Rush because Rush's hair is really valuable too. So it's like, but I'm thinking Sombra's going to be the one that wins it.
Yeah, I think that's what they should do.
Yeah. I have a feeling.
I don't know how long Atlantis has. I mean, I don't know if he's like a Ric Flair who wants to just stay there forever, or
because I think he kind of seems like more of a guy who'd probably he's not going to be around as long as some of these other guys.
Yeah,
I don't think he's gonna. He might. I mean, because he's still in shape and
he's
stuff.
in really good shape for his age.
Because once he drops his mask, all of a sudden he's not really a top guy. He's basically in that Blue Panther Porky group where they'll work main events, but they're not they're more living off of what they were in the past. Yeah. Which he still is kind of now, but the mask is like, holy shit, you want to see that match.
It'd be so worth it.
Yeah. Well, with Dr. Wagner Jr. and LA Park came in and wants Rush in a mask versus hair match.
Oh,
Ooh, you're sitting on your phone.
Am I sitting on my phone? Trying to butt dial.
You just butt dialed.
I'm trying to multitask.
Butt dialed Dr. Lucha.
That's right. Oh, and by the way, I didn't want to infer that you were the one who didn't say that La Sombra didn't have something going. I just
you thought it was me, right?
No, I
or
knew
you were.
you
Oh,
were,
you
right?
thought people thought. No, people know that I think he's awesome. So
yeah, totally.
And with LA Park, he wants to challenge Rush, and what ended up happening is he wants to have a truce with Dr. Wagner Jr. so that they could take on CMLL to show them that the independents can work against CMLL. But I'm guessing they're probably going to do something separate where LA Park teams up with Volador and all those.
Well, they should, because people like LA Park, you don't know if they're going to take a hike.
Yeah, and that's the other issue. Like they're not really they're not. And LA Park said that when he was being interviewed. He was talking about the first time he came to CMLL. The last time he said that guys were placing bets on how long he would last in the promotion.
That's awesome.
And well, because it's this hippie mentality where
that's one thing I really dig about him is when he flat out said, "I'm a hippie."
And with Dr. Wagner Jr., I mean, the way they did it was they played the video. And it was like Bad Medicine started playing, and then all of the video, and we're like, holy shit. And at first we're thinking it's they're doing that All Elite indie show. Like, oh, they're just promoting the All Elite show. These guys are paying them to do it. And then all of a sudden, I think what ended up happening is like they're seeing all these other promoters drawing big crowds, and like, why don't we just do it?
True.
We're losing money doing this. As long as they don't bring in like really old dudes like Octagon, I'm okay with it. Yeah,
there's some you shouldn't count on.
Yeah, like Octagon I wouldn't bring in.
Yeah, if you're going to bring him in, you don't want to bring him in as a main roster.
No, just because he's... Like, if you want to bring him in, like, to team up with Atlantis for one match, one show...
Yeah, but don't have him be one of your top... Don't expect him to be a top draw anymore.
Don't bring him in for long. So they played that, then then all of a sudden they had the guy who's doing the show, he looks up because he hears music, and it's LA Park, and LA Park walks in. And he's there talking about how he showed up. He's like, I showed up at this press conference because this is the only place I could get Rush to accept my challenge, because he said Rush told him he wouldn't have a mask versus hair match with him unless it was in Arena, Mexico.
Wow.
So now they're there. They actually, LA Park then showed up at the Arena, Mexico show this past Friday. And they're working. He didn't know his date. Next Friday, the main event is going to be LA Park and Dr. Wagner are going to be in a trios match where they're going to team up with the combination of Rush, Sombra, Atlantis, and Volador Jr. Should be a good match.
Very cool.
And it's airing on Claro Sports.
And I am looking forward to this.
It's going to air online for those of you. The other CMLL news, Boby Zavala won in Busca de un Idolo, one of the greatest tournaments of all time. Those of you, Kurt, how many of those, you said you were going to watch that tournament, and I would watch, you would watch that tournament, I would have to watch some movie that you picked out. But I know for a fact, I know for a fact you did not watch a single match of the tournament, and I was so happy.
I think if you go back and listen to it, if I ever watched that Boby Zavala match,
no, people heard, people said, I said you would have to watch the entire In Busca de un Idolo tournament, and you did not watch any of it.
You don't have to watch whatever it was, and I already forgot what it was I wanted to watch, so, not touche.
Match?
Nope.
Match was about as bad as... The match wasn't... Well, it was good. It was okay.
But I must thank you for taking the bullet of watching the
entire tournament.
When I didn't. That sounded
match
like
was okay.
Not fun.
It was really bad. Boby Zavala did a tope, and I guess he missed Wagner Jr. and hit the guardrail and hurt his shoulder.
Oh.
So he worked the rest of the match hurt.
Ow.
So when he was trying to do his pin, he couldn't do it really well. So it looked really bad, to the point where the referee counted, and it was a disaster.
Gone to a different finish.
It was a disaster. Well, Boby Zavala is going to Japan, so that was the big prize.
I'm happy for him.
He'll go for Fantastica Mania. I'm guessing maybe Wagner Jr. will go to that anyways. They have plenty of guys.
I really like that guy.
Yeah. That was like, but it was like it basically that match. If you watch the match, it was basically like the culmination of what the entire tournament was. It was just like it was like just bad.
Now, somebody I want to bring up really briefly because I was thinking of last year's tournament. Somebody who I enjoy watching now even more than ever, and who you were the first to tell me how awesome this guy was. But I love Rey Hechicero, and not just because he's a great worker, but he reminds me of one of the villains who would fight El Santo in the old black and white Santo movies. He just has that, like, Acha Diabolica look to him.
Because he changed his look, too. He changed his...
And that was the best move he could ever make.
And he even added fire to his
Yes, I
arsenal.
love that. I love that. And I gotta say, man, this is just the change of costume and just that little tweak.
Yeah, when I saw that costume, like, he's a main event guy now. Because that's what he was lacking. Because he looks a lot cooler now.
Yeah, that other costume just didn't do him justice.
Yeah.
It didn't do any... And
it looked like something that would have worked, like, in 2000, 2005.
Yes.
But now he has a look that looks like it's a main event level.
He is so cool.
Yeah. What did you watch him? What did you see him on lately?
I'm really embarrassed to say Mark Cole recommended a match, and
you forgot what match. You did not watch that match. You watched the other
one. I watched it, and I'm already forgetting who he wrestled.
You should have said it was a match Mark Cole recommended, and I clicked that match, but I ended up watching the other match that was recommended on the sidebar.
It sounds like something I would do, but no, I did watch the match, and I've already blanked on who he is wrestling, but I remember just
was it a trios match?
No, it was a singles one-on-one.
I can't remember.
But what
Valiente? No, it probably wasn't that, because that just happened.
No.
That just happened. I think that's not even airing. But I think that airs this
That guy's just the king of cool right now.
Yeah, he's really good. He's really good.
Yeah.
He's with that guy that we're all like, why isn't this guy used more often on...
Yeah, that's right. And well...
But then you see the roster, CMLL's roster, like up top, it's really loaded. Their problem is when they put all those undercard guys that aren't really good, like Inquisidor and Kimura, all those guys. When they put those guys that aren't very good, Robin, they put those guys like, oh, the show sucks.
And they should really... I know.
The rest of the card, it's like... And then when they have Pure Oath and all those guys kind of mixed in, it's like, ugh. But when they get rid of those guys, it's all right. Today, Chilanga Mask is on... they posted their entire show from the 16th onto YouTube. You should probably watch that because that has Virus versus Dr. Cerebro.
Ooh.
It has Hechicero and Ultimo Girl versus Kaifan and Avisman, two really good indie guys. And it has Guerrero Maya Jr. versus Guerrero Maya. Guerrero Maya Sr. is Black Terry.
Oh my god.
That's a really good show.
Oh, something I want to see now.
What were you gonna find something? Do you have notes? Notes on something?
Yeah, I'm just gonna see notes. What do I have notes about?
Yeah, so CMLL Friday show's airing on Claro Sports. They actually blocked it the first week, but this past week they had it region free, so we were all able to watch it without having to use any apps.
Very cool.
It was pretty good. There was actually a really good minis match. I think Cubs fan filmed it from 2 weeks ago. The first show.
Yes.
Stukita. That's somebody I recommend you watch. Stukita.
Oh, Stukita. Okay.
Stukita. You gotta watch him. If you watch him, you're gonna say that's probably the best babyface in CMLL.
Really?
Because the way he acts, the way he plays, he's like a cool little he comes off like a cool worker, like
somebody who's not shy of.
He has charisma. He's charisma. He has great charisma.
Nice.
We should talk about the recent Superboy birthday bash at PW.
Yes, let's talk about that. That was
fun.
That was a fun time.
Yeah.
That was a really fun show.
Dan Farron went with us too.
Yes, Dan Farron went along. It was Superboy's birthday, and that was probably the hottest day.
Oh yeah! Oh god!
When
when we went to the valley to pick up Dan, we were practically dying in there.
We were sweating.
But in LA, downtown LA wasn't that bad.
It wasn't that bad. Inside
but it was still
the building,
hot.
It got hot.
Yeah.
But it didn't matter. I was having so much fun.
Yeah.
That was just a really fun show.
Yeah.
And I dig the little arena that's right across the street from where Gil's Gym used to stand in East Los Angeles.
I dug that Profetas, the build up to that feud for Profetas versus Indus.
That was well done, wasn't it?
I thought that was great.
Yeah, that was very nicely done.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody like making like they're working security and
well, they're just standing around as fans or something. Yeah, well, the guy with the son was in the background.
Yeah,
the dad was kind of like acting like he was working security or something, and he got clotheslined, and then they got involved and everything. They started.
And it was great how they were just playing it really cool.
And then Superboy, like at one point, was like to get the Professor Jr. out, he was just like kicking, like pushing him to the outside.
I love that. I loved how he was making like he was the peacemaker.
Yeah, but he's like trying to get rid of him, like
that was so
getting
well
him
done.
out.
That was really good.
I actually dug that. That's like the indie wrestling. That's indie lucha. That's what you want.
There's nothing like indie lucha. I love shows in dance halls, gyms, bar rooms. It's just fun. I love the just atmosphere.
Because you're gonna get some cool high flyers and all that stuff, but you want that one with the veterans who can actually do some stuff. Yeah, maybe not do anything that's great, but just enough where it's like brawls.
Tornado Negro Segundo and Piloto Suicida.
We're beating them.
I just love their brawling. Yeah. I just love how they go off on each other. I mean, and
they scare me because they're always like all over the place. You don't know if they're gonna throw themselves at you or anything.
Oh God, yeah.
And it's worse because if they know you. And they actually are going to throw your...
Yeah, and they know I can take bumps.
Yeah,
that's scary.
so it always worries me. It's like, they don't know me that well where they're going to throw... The only ones that did that were the Chivos. Chivos had a habit of doing that with me when they were doing a pro while. They would always bump towards my area. I was like, no, don't do that. I'm fragile. Don't hit me. Don't drop me. I'm delicate. Then right after that, they had that match with Superboy. Well, we were talking about Superboy Jr. Principe Indio Jr. versus Enigma from Tijuana and Legacy. Enigma from Tijuana was really good. He kind of looked... at first, he kind of looked like Ray Horace a bit.
I agree.
Is that Ray? That's his name now, right? Ray Horace?
I believe so.
I can't remember. It is, yeah, it's Ray Horace. Because I know he changes his name so many times. Like, I know it's
Stick with the name,
Ray Horace.
Kid. Stick with
but he kind of looked like Kim, and it was pretty good. He kind of reminded me of... And Legacy, of course, we know who he is. I don't know if we're supposed to say who it is, but...
Are we supposed to say he's the youngest
son of Superboy?
Well, it was his third match, and we were... Well, Dan Farron mentioned it on Facebook, so I figure it's pretty...
He had one little botch at the beginning when he did when he bounced off the ropes, he kind of slipped. Yeah, but other than that, he looked pretty good. Yeah, he looked pretty good.
I mean, we're talking a kid here.
Yeah.
A kid. And... with it being his third match, usually when somebody starts to botch something up,
my favorite thing,
they get nervous and botch other stuff up.
I should mention that one of his friends,
yes,
as I'm sitting down, he had Superboy's son had disappeared, and his friend was there, and his friend comes over to me and he tells me, "Hey, I can't find him. I can't find my friend. I won't say his name. Do you know where he's at?" And I go, and I look at him. And, now, first of all, you gotta go to lucha shows with me to understand my reaction to kids, because I'm like really like for some reason kids like me, but I'm very like stern with them.
You're like W.C. Fields.
Yeah,
get away, kid.
So I look at him and he's like, because I'm watching the match and he's like I can't find him, and I'm like, I look at him and I'm like, well, maybe he's outside. And he's like, I don't think he's out there. I go, why don't you ask his mom? She would know. I've been sitting here the whole time. And he's like, I can't. I'm scared of his mom. I just started laughing. I was like...
That's a reason to attend a Superboy promoted show, because the mother
that is the other
gets
one.
Involved. Yeah. She rocks. She is one of the best.
The main event, she's the one... Her and the security guard are the ones breaking up the fights.
Yes, and she's in the wrestlers' faces shouting at them.
Yeah.
At not monotone,
Yeah. Well, let's go back to the Superboy, the kids match.
Yes.
The finish of the match was they actually did a lot of cool dives, but Enigma climbed the top rope, did a 450 splash, and actually landed on his knee, hit Superboy Jr. right in the temple area. So you're saying
he was out cold.
So you're saying he broke his orbital bone?
Yes. And at first it just looked like it was broken.
Well, we were kind of scared because he was
out like a light.
He was out, and this nowadays anybody who gets knocked out, like nowadays, it's like you just kind of get worried.
And it was just like the week before when I heard Conan on Brian Alvarez's show, or not. He was on that Brian Alvarez's show, and he was saying how he thought Perro Aguayo Jr. was just knocked out, because that happens.
Yeah,
people get knocked out cold, and. So, a lot of people probably think it's an overreaction, but you get worried.
I wanted Kurt to run in and do CPR.
God help.
No, there were plenty of people that helping him.
Yeah, there are a lot of people already in the ring. And, it's me doing CPR probably wouldn't have helped much.
Yeah. Well, he didn't come out afterwards, so I'm guessing he was still getting checked up and back.
But he is going to be okay. He is going to need surgery, but it sounds like he's going to be fine. So that's a big relief, a big whew.
Yeah, so that sort of thing's going to happen if you get into wrestling.
Yeah, it is.
Injuries.
It is.
There's very few guys who get out of it.
I just felt bad for the mom because that must be scary as all hell.
Yeah.
But it was a really fun show.
Dad didn't really seem that phased. He was like, keep going.
Well,
but I'm sure it was.
Remember that one match we saw in City of Industry about 10 years back when Piloto accidentally knocked out Zokre, yeah.
Oh, Phoenix Star. It was Phoenix Star.
Yeah. And how...
The one where I actually told Piloto Suicida they were talking about him. Remember?
That's right.
And
that
they almost got in a fight.
Was trying to stare down Piloto.
Yeah, there was a guy in the back. Mm-hmm. I think I might have mentioned this in Slam and Stan at one point. There was a guy in the back who was friends with Zokre and Phoenix Star, and he kept staring down Piloto Suicida. And I look at all the luchadors are like in a circle getting dressed, or they're standing around like talking about the match. And I tell Piloto Suicida, Piloto, that dude over there keeps staring at you. And Piloto's like, "Which motherfucker's staring at me?"
He went right up to the guy's face.
And he went to his face, and I'm like, "Oh shit, I shouldn't have said it." And then Superboy came in, and I told Superboy, "Hey, Superboy, they're arguing over there." And then he went over there.
He was the peacemaker, and he was good at it too. And so, and he said, like, these things happen.
Yeah.
It just happens. He didn't try to hurt him.
Yeah.
And so, even though it's his kid, I'm sure upstairs in his mind, he's probably a little freaked out, but. He's not going to show it because that's part of being a wrestler.
And that's why people should never let me go backstage. Nah. And it happens in Arena Paraguayo, that time that guy was picking on that really big, the dude who didn't speak any English. What was that dude's name? He used to wrestle for Revolution Pro. He was one of Ron Rivera's guys.
Yeah.
Remember? And he was arguing. Yeah, and he was arguing with Kid Norteño. Because he sat in Kid Norteño's chair. Kid Norteño comes back to the back, and he's like, "Hey, he's like, it's my chair."
And you didn't even say anything.
I didn't say anything. He wanted me to translate for him.
I felt so bad for you.
I was fine with it. I was like, I'll translate. I was just laughing, like, dude, are you serious? And then right after he moved, and Yakuza moved, he was like, I'll move, but he didn't want to move. And then Kid Norteño was like, looks at me and he winks like, fuck that guy, and I was like, dude, you're an asshole.
Oh my god.
He was a really cool guy. I actually ended up liking him. He was a cool guy.
I did too.
Yeah.
He was like, I got to work with him.
He was like a crazy dude. He wanted to work with you, didn't he?
He did, and I was up for it.
Yeah.
I thought it would have been kind of fun.
And then he disappeared because he was going to go to Mexico or something. You know who I've seen post on other people's their Facebook pages? Rudy Venegas.
No way.
Yeah, I've seen him.
Oh my god, I haven't seen that guy in a long time.
I think he's in Mexico. He's stuck in Mexico.
Oh wow. Oh, trip out. Oh, well, we covered quite a bit of ground.
Yeah.
And
we'll probably we're going to try to get interviews with Johnny Mundo, Volador Jr., Mephisto.
So cross your fingers that we can get them because...
We might be able, because Carrie's cool.
I think we could, yeah. So
Carrie and Superboy are going to be there, so.
And looking forward to seeing the Superboy family as always.
Yeah.
And want to say thanks to everybody for listening, and...
anything else you want to...
I can't think of any other news right now. Anything you would like to get out there before...
No, I'll probably remember after. I'll remember as right as the show is, oh, Kurt, I remember I got to talk about this. No, I wrote everything down. This is actually pretty impressive. We went through everything.
Okay, well, thank you folks for listening, and we'd like to say when we're going to do our next podcast, but...
We'll probably do one before the anniversary, maybe.
Yes, let's do it.
Let's do it the day of. Let's do it the day of the anniversary.
Yeah, we'll post it the day after the matches.
And the predictions right after where we're all wrong.
Well, until then, folks, have a totally bitchin' week. Hare Krishna to you all, and keep on rocking.